Hi, hello, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started at 8 o'clock on the dot, as we normally like to do. Happy Monday and happy May. It's 8 p.m. on the East Coast. For those who don't know, my name is Rosie, and I'm one of the Citizen Empowerment Coordinators with American Promise. I'd also like to extend a very happy belated Mother's Day to all the mothers, grandmothers, aunts, sisters, and just all the amazing and powerful women joining us across the country this evening. I really want to thank you all for all that you've done, not just for this organization, but for your families and communities. So hope you all had a lovely Mother's Day weekend. As I just said, I'm going to put all our volunteers on mute for now, but when the time comes for questions or comments, I'll tell you how to request unmuting so we can hear from you. Sound good? Yes. Thank you all again so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us for the May 2019 American Promise National Call, a call that happens on the second Monday of each month. Whether you're here live or listening to the recording afterwards, you're all a super crucial part of the fight to save our democracy, so I really can't thank you all enough. I'm really, really grateful for each and every one of you. It's been a really crazy week at American Promise. Azer and I just got back from 2 events in upstate New York, where we're trying to start some new chapters in Syracuse, Watertown, and Rochester. Kimberly won't be joining us on tonight's call. She's currently in Minnesota for the whole week. She's starting 4 new chapters there, so way to go, Kimberly. We're all really, really proud of her. And I'm also I've rallied. I have my tea and my Dayquil. I'm on day 9 of being sick, but I promise I won't get anyone sick over the phone. I don't think that we could do it that way. But tonight I have the honor of talking with Ryan Liston with Bark Media. Ryan is a senior for another week until he graduates at the University of Kansas, studying journalism, political science, and German. Ryan has worked in numerous media positions, including serving as the opinion editor at the newspaper, at the University Administration reporter for the University Daily Kansan, KU's student newspaper. Ryan will also be joined by Jessica Kellner, founding partner of marketing strategy. Jessica has over a decade of experience in content creation and brand management. She's attracted vast audiences of enthusiastic print, online, and social media readers in an array of niches. Most recently, however, she was the founding editor of Mother Earth Living, a national natural wellness magazine that has hundreds of thousands of print readers and a social media universe that has over 2 million fans. So I'm really, really excited to hear from Ryan and Jessica later on about how we can all improve our social media strategy. First, though, I'm going to pass it over to Richard Asimus, leader of the Cincinnati-APA. Richard has a master's degree in team development, and he'll be sharing some tips on how we can all improve our meetings, grow our lists, and he's also going to update us on what his group has done so far on his truly fantastic leadership. So without further ado, take it away, Richard.
Thanks, Rosie. Hello, everyone. It is an honor being here because as the organizer of the American Promise Cincinnati, I can announce that we are almost getting to the toddler stage. We were born in February when Azer came, and then so we hit our launch, and then Rosie came through the phone systems to do our 4 trainings, and we're off and running. But when we talked, I'd like to share a few things that I have found over my training and also from many years of experience that so many groups struggle or disappear or thrive depending on their facilitation skills, the facilitator's skill and practice and the commitment to continually improve. So I'd like to share 6 quick tips that I have found, and there's many, but these are 6 that I have found very helpful in keeping a group strong and growing stronger and stronger. The first one is to create a short mission or purpose statement for your American Promise Association. You can adapt it from the national, do it any way you want, but you create a short mission or purpose statement. You print it at the top of each of your agendas when you hand it out. I find that really powerful, and you read it at the beginning of each meeting and have a moment to let it sink in. Sometimes discuss, but sometimes just read. So that's the first one about creating and using a short mission or purpose statement. The second one that I find helpful in any of the groups that I facilitate, including APA, is to call it a work group rather than a meeting group. There's a big difference. Language is powerful. If people coming realize I'm joining a work group here, that sets the tone right off, And it also gives more meaning to people rather than a meeting. Sometimes people have negative feelings about that. The third point is to always create a detailed agenda for each meeting. And with the listings of all, you have a printed copy for each participant, and then that framework of the agenda with details, that becomes the framework for putting in notes and actions. We call them notes and actions that come from the work group session. So you have that already. We have somebody volunteer to just fill out the agenda then with the notes and actions, and we put the actions in red. The rest of the information, the knowledge parts or the discussion announcements or whatever, they are in dark color, but the actions are always put in red so people can scan down to what action they might be choosing to take. The fourth point is to deliberately design each work group agenda, in my view, to be 1/3 learning-based and 2/3 planning actions. It's a really, now nobody's exact about this, it's approximate, but 1/3 learning that we're picking up new ideas or perspectives, whatever, but 2/3 of our hour-and-a-half meeting is based in planning and implementing and reporting about, but it's more action-based. People feel like they're really making a difference this way, focused, of course, to accomplishing the mission of our work group, APA work group. Fifth point is to arrange the work group space always so that as much as you can, so participants sit in a circle or an oval. I call it faces facing faces. Makes all the difference in the world when people can see, and that way when people participate, it's easy to make eye contact and connect that way. And the sixth point, last point, is that I encourage facilitators to call yourself the organizer of the American Promise Association. Organizing, it's a powerful word. That's your job as a facilitator and organizer, is to help that move forward. And then you call, this is the key, to call participants leaders. So the ones who volunteer to lead a team or an action or one of the roles that American Promise has laid out for us, those persons are leaders. So as an organizer, I'm an organizer of leaders. When participants let themselves be called leaders or call themselves leaders, they really show up, they work harder, they're committed, and other people are actually glad to have leaders. Some people are ready to do that. So we've used some of these and other methods as our beginning of our APA here in Cincinnati. One of our key accomplishments has been to build relationships with our two congressional offices here, our U.S. Congress representatives. They're both Republican here in Ohio, and it's gerrymandered. But we've really now we have a relationship with the key staff persons for each of the representatives on a first-name basis with a clear understanding with them that we can call them anytime. So that's been really nice to get that settled. They've agreed to open a file in their office, the representative's office in town, for American Promise. So now there's an American Promise file in each of their offices, and we shared copies of HJR2 and HJR48, the two resolutions or whatever they're bills in the Congress, and the staff person has agreed, gently, we didn't push hard, to help us set up a personal meeting with the representative when we are ready to make an ask for the representative to take an action. For example, a vote or a co-sponsor, or maybe to go deeper in their understanding of what the cross-partisan work of American Promise is. But they've said when that time is there, they will help us set up a personal meeting with the representative himself. So we feel like we've got that accomplished strongly since February, and many other things we've been trying to do. But thank you for the invitation to share what we've been doing and accomplishment with our first toddler steps. And if you have any follow-ups, Rosie said that she'd include questions about things I've shared. Rosie said that she'd put my contact information in the notes coming from this meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Richard. I know we're all on mute at the moment, but I'm still encouraging everyone to do a little round of applause for that. I've been so proud of Richard working with him over the past couple of weeks. They only finished their training a little under a month ago, and they've already just been such rock stars in Ohio, and I know they're going to do such great work, especially with getting those meetings set up. And I found that whenever I called in for those trainings, I was just so amazed by what a strong and really powerful leader Richard was, because he's not a leader in the sense that he just always, like, tells you what to do, when to do it, but he's very encouraging of hearing everyone's perspective, which I really appreciated. So thank you so much for sharing. If anyone has a question for Richard, I'll put his contact info in the follow-up email, but if we have time at the end, we can do live questions as well. But for now, I'm going to first congratulate another outstanding leader from Ohio, Ellen Greenbush from the Port Clinton, Ohio group. Ellen and her group just passed a local resolution in Sandusky County calling for the overturning of Citizens United. So that's really incredible work, Ellen and her group. She's now joined nearly 1,000 other local counties and towns across the country calling for this. So the more numbers we have, the better. So really awesome stuff is happening in Ohio and really across the country too. A national update is that in the next week or two, we're hoping, knock on wood, that New Hampshire is going to become the 20th state to call for this constitutional amendment, which we, again, as we all know, we only need 38 states. So now that we're over the halfway point, that's really exciting. I would encourage you, if you have any friends in New Hampshire, reach out to them to let them know that HB 504, that's the bill, will be voted on in the New Hampshire State Senate. That's the thing we're focusing on, at least Ben and the other citizen empowerment coordinators over the next week or two. So that's some exciting national updates. I'm now going to kick it over to Ryan with Bark Media, who will be going through the slide presentation on social media strategy and some tips. Everyone can follow on visually if they'd like by opening the presentation we sent in the conference call RSVP email. I also want to thank Bark for creating this awesome toolkit for our volunteers. I'm going to encourage everyone to save their questions for the end. When you do have a question, though, just press 1 on your keypad, and I'll unmute you when the time comes. So, all right, Ryan, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Rosie. For those who may have joined a little later or didn't hear Rosie's great introduction of me, my name is Ryan Liston. I live in Lawrence, Kansas. I'm a senior at the University of Kansas up until this Sunday when I will become an alumni of the University of Kansas. So that's some very exciting news. Yes. I started working with Bark nearly a year ago now. It was actually in May when I got started, and I really got interested in the issue of money in politics around the 2016 election when I started seeing more about it in the political discourse. And obviously being in college, I was getting a little more politically aware as well. And I was working at a running store. I still work there, but one of my coworkers there is one of the co-founders of Bark Media. And she told me that this group, American Promise, that they were about to start working with would be a perfect fit for me. So that is how I sort of got involved in working with American Promise, helping out with the overall communication strategy. We help them put together the newsletters, articles on the website, and also, as you can tell, the social media. So that's a little bit about me. As I go through this slideshow, I'll just let you all know which slide I'm moving on to. And as Rosie said, if there are any questions, I will take those at the end. So without further ado, I will go from slide 1 on to slide 2. So if you're following along, you can move there. So really, the purpose of social media these days with movements like American Promise is to build citizen activism and connect our network across the nation. Social media is really an easy way for us to engage and organize with people who care about the 28th Amendment, who care about big money in politics, and who really want to see democratic power sort of restored to the people. And we have been building up a social media strategy at Bark that involves coordinating with partner groups, posting a lot of national updates, posting about local issues, HB 504, for example, which Rosie mentioned earlier, and also posting updates about all of those things. The thing that we are trying to do now is make it a little bit more engaged, a little more personal. And that is where the APAs obviously come in. As a group of people who already are well embedded in the movement for a 28th Amendment, everyone in the APA can really help out and help us expand our message, help us really grow our audience, and make sure that people are aware of the 28th Amendment and what it's all about. And so Facebook is what we're going to be talking about today. That is far and away our most successful platform for getting traffic to the American Promise website so that people can sign up for the newsletter, become American Promise members, just see what we're doing and read the articles that we share with them. And I will now be moving on to the third slide. So if you're following along, you can click over to that. And so, like I was saying, we're trying to make our strategy a little more personal. One of the major reasons for that is that Facebook's algorithm is greatly favoring posts from individuals rather than businesses or organizations, because individuals share something, and the statistics we found have shown that about 40% of an individual's friends will see their posts and their shared posts, whereas with an organization, about 10% of the followers will see the post from the organization. This basically means that the most valuable thing you can do with your APA and with your social media strategy is share messages from the national organization, from the American Promise Facebook page. That will help us get our message both to the people who already know about American Promise, but then beyond that, expanding it to people who may be hearing about American Promise for the very first time, and hopefully getting those people to join in on the effort for the 28th Amendment. One way you can make sure that you're seeing American Promise's Facebook posts is to go to the American Promise Facebook page. There's a follow button there on the drop-down menu, and you can select to see American Promise posts first. This basically tells Facebook that you want American Promise posts to show up at the top of your timeline, and so each time you get on Facebook, they'll show up there. This is something, a slide you can come back to later once the call is over. You can check back in on this, see how to follow those steps, but I just wanted to mention that now to make sure that you are all aware that there's a way to do that. And additionally, if you have members of your APA who are on Facebook already, ask them to like and share the messages that we share on the national platform as well. Again, sharing it on an individual account is going to get us a much wider reach than just sharing it on the national account or even just sharing it in these APA groups. So now we'll move on to the next slide, to slide 4. This is, again, sort of like the last slide. It's a slide you can come back to later when you are looking through this after the call. It's basically a quick way to get to all the resources that we've put together, and we want you to be using both through sharing off of the national platform's original posts, but if as an APA you want to make original posts on your own Facebook pages, your Facebook groups, then these are good tools to use to put those messages together. You don't have to do that. Like I was saying earlier, sharing it from the national page is really the best way to do things. But if you're having a specific event on the local level or anything like that where you feel you need to create your own message for something, this is a great place to come and get all the related aspects. And so we will now move on to slide 5, which this will get really into the meat of the presentation here. What we're hoping is that as APAs are being created across the country, we're also giving them a digital platform. So Facebook allows us to do that by creating group pages. These pages connect members of an organization, and they show people in your area that there's a local organization working toward a cause they maybe care about, maybe haven't heard of, but would be interested in. And so that's really what we're hoping to do with each APA, is get a group up as long as there are people interested in running it and posting on those pages. So American Promise can basically be summarized as the national organization and then broken down into a bunch of APAs. And the Facebook page as well is broken up in a very similar way. So on Facebook, you can go to the American Promise page, and then underneath that page, there will be the individual American Promise groups listed in a tab. This basically helps keep our whole organization centralized. People can see that we are all associated with the same mission. We're not just different groups angling for the 28th Amendment on different terms, and that really helps us keep connected among ourselves. And additionally, when posting in an APA group, these are a little more strategy or hands-on tangible things that you would need to do. If you do make posts in your APA group, we'll want you to tag the American Promise national page. You can do that by typing @Our American Promise in the actual post, and that will alert us that you posted something about American Promise that we can share. And so that was just sort of a brief overview. We're going to get more in depth about that on the next slide. So we will be moving on to slide number 6 now, for everyone following along. So as I said, Facebook allows us to create group pages which help us localize American Promise, help us create those groups for the APAs. Now, if you want to find an APA group and see if there's one on Facebook already, you can get on Facebook, go to the American Promise National page, scroll down, and there will be a section titled Groups. Under that, you'll see all the groups that are created. You can hit a See More, and then if there's one already in your area for your APA, you can go ahead and join that one. If not, though, and you want to create an APA group, what we would recommend is just contacting Rosie or Kimberly. They're going to help set it up. They're going to start that process, get everything where it needs to be to make sure that we're not sending the group to the wrong place or anything like that, and making sure that those APA groups really are subgroups under the main American Promise account. Now, there are a couple APAs out there that have an American Promise page or a Facebook page, which is different than a Facebook group. A Facebook page can't be connected to another Facebook page. So what we'd encourage you to do is start an actual Facebook group, even if your APA already has a Facebook page. That will just help us put it back under the national account and keep it so that it's not, keep it centralized so it's not spread across Facebook. And again, with any of this, if you do have questions at the end, let me know. But it's fairly simple to find American Promise on Facebook, and again, simple as well to see whether there is already an APA group for you or not. And we're hoping that those start to get off the ground, become sort of a platform where you can arrange all of your communications. And the next few slides, we're going to go through how you can best utilize your group pages. So this will be after Rosie and Kimberly help you get it much after it's all set up, all of that stuff. This is going to be the tangible things you can do with that Facebook group. So I'm going to move on to slide 7 again for anyone following along, and I will start talking about these specific strategies. So one of the best things you can do on your individual APA groups is share photos from your event. These photos really show that there is citizen activism on the ground. It shows the tangible steps that we're taking to get to a 28th Amendment. I think sometimes people see these organizations and think, oh, that's a lofty goal, but like, what are you actually doing to advance, in our case, the amendment? And with these photos showing what we're doing at events, we are actually telling our audience, here's what we're doing to get the 28th Amendment to pass. Here's what we're doing in our cities, our towns, our states, and on the national level. So sharing those photos also helps humanize American Promise a little bit. It's, again, a little impersonal if you're just looking at the American Promise national page, whereas if you look at the faces that make up American Promise, that shows that it's not just a few people, it's hundreds of thousands of citizens across the nation who really want this 28th Amendment to get passed, who really care about the issue of money in politics, and who are really committed to taking action, not just sitting around and waiting for someone else to do it. And so, again, these photos really just highlight all of that, and having them come from the local APAs will really help immensely, because it'll help us put a face to everyone who's working on the issue. And so now I'll move on to the next slide, which is slide 8. Another good way to use your APAs, your APA group pages. This works really well in conjunction with sharing photos, but it's a little bit of a step further as well. This would be providing updates on the achievements of your group. On this slide, I actually included a couple photos from American Promise Association getting actions done. We have Ishwari, a citizen leader there, who got Deb Haaland, currently in the House of Representatives, one of the first 2 Native American women elected to the House of Representatives. That's her after she signed the American Promise Pledge, saying that she would use her office to advance the 28th Amendment. So that's really cool. And highlighting that, especially Deb now has a lot of media attention. She's a really key player in the National Congress. That having her sign our American Promise Pledge is a big deal. And showing that on social media can help us gain awareness, gain following, all of that, because people might know Deb Haaland, but they don't know American Promise. And if they see her having done something with our organization, they're going to be like, well, I want to know what that's about. And that's one way where providing these updates on the achievements is going to help people actually see that there are tangible steps being taken to advance the 28th Amendment. Again, not just a lofty goal, there are things we're actually doing to make sure that this amendment gets passed. And so these achievements really just show the progress that we've made and how when citizens come together, we can make a difference and we can make a change in the national discourse. And so we will move on to the next slide, which is slide 9. This is going to be something we talk about more in depth on a later call as well, but I wanted to sort of preview it as just another function of a group page. Again, this is a slide you can come back to after the call. You can kind of start getting ideas, formulating ideas from this slideshow and thinking of how you could use this strategy in your own APAs. So you can use your group page to show that you're hosting a local event and also to share local events and local news with your group members. Hosting an event is something, again, we'll talk on a later call, but Facebook allows you to create events, you can invite people, and you can also co-host events. American Promise, as I mentioned before, we have a strategy of connecting with a bunch of partner organizations. So if you ever had a partner organization who wanted to help you host, say, a Writing the 28th Amendment town hall or a Democracy is Brewing tour, that would be the perfect way to use this creating a group or creating an event function. And then again, to reiterate, sharing local events and local news with your group members, that would be something if there were local, organization doing something that wasn't necessarily related to the 28th Amendment, but that you thought other APA members would be interested in, you could share it with them in there. Additionally, you can coordinate your group meetings, your APA meetings, and your APA events among APA members with the group page. That way, you know who all's coming, you know what time it's at, where it's going to be hosted, and all of that. And so that's just a little preview of what's to come in the future. That won't be something we get as deep into today, but that's just a little highlight for you. And so I am moving on to slide 10. So if you all following along want to move on to that, that would be great as well. And so another really good way to use your group page and just social media in general is to engage with elected officials. Most elected officials are going to have a social media platform. Not all of them, but most of them do these days. That's just the way they sort of make themselves available to their constituency in a more contemporary way. And that is something we're also trying to leverage in order to gain both awareness again and also some action. And so tagging your members of Congress, your elected officials, and posting about the 28th Amendment, hopefully they will see that post and then be like, I want to know more about this amendment, or if they already know about the amendment and support it, hopefully they'll share the message. But these things are ways that elected officials can sort of show that they also stand in support of the 28th Amendment, and how we can also put a little bit of good pressure on the elected officials that we have to hopefully use their office to advance this 28th Amendment. Again, we're going to go into greater detail on this a little later on, a different call, but this is just, again, a teaser. I posted up on the bottom of the slide a few pictures of candidates who we've had sign the pledge, and we'll always share those pledge signers on social media. Oftentimes when we do that, they'll retweet and they'll share the post that we made. And so that shows the people who already follow them, their constituents or their supporters, that they support American Promise, and then their supporters thereby will see that American Promise is a group working for the 28th Amendment. So it really just raises awareness of both American Promise and the 28th Amendment, and hopefully gets people interested in getting involved. And so I will move on to the slide 11, the penultimate slide. There are other social media channels that we utilize for American Promise often. Obviously, we've been talking about Facebook. We also use Twitter and Instagram a lot. This is something that we aren't going as in depth on, obviously, like we said at the beginning of this presentation, just because Facebook drives a little bit more traffic to our website, a little more actual click-through from our posts on Facebook than do Twitter or Instagram. Also, on Twitter and Instagram, there isn't a similar function for creating APA groups, so it doesn't really factor into this part of the strategy as much. But if you are personally already on Twitter and already on Instagram, you can follow our pages there. Twitter, our handle is @USAPromise, and Instagram, our handle is @AmericanPromiseUSA. And following along on that, engaging with our content, retweeting, sharing, and liking our posts, that all helps grow the movement, helps show people what you care about, and helps raise awareness for the 28th Amendment. We threw down a few pros and cons just because that helps sort of explain why we use all these platforms and not just one of these platforms. Twitter is really good for connecting with other citizens on a person-to-person level, and hashtags are very good on Twitter because they categorize things very well. People can click on the hashtags, such as the ones I provided below, 28th Amendment and Get Money Out, to see posts with those hashtags. Cons, it's very, basically to get a significant Twitter following, you have to be pretty active, updating your page very often. And also Twitter moves a lot faster than some of the other social media platforms that we use. If you tweet something out and people don't really see it initially, then sometimes it just gets pushed down in the timeline and overshadowed by other posts. Facebook pros, it's a very easy place to plan events and reach new audiences. A lot of people are starting to use Facebook as a very event planning centric social media platform. It helps organize people a little bit better than the other platforms, Twitter and Instagram, do, because you can make those events and because you can bring groups together. Whereas on Twitter and Instagram, they, again, just don't have that group function to the same degree. Cons, obviously, everyone has seen the news reports about false information going out there. And so that has sort of limited what organizations are allowed to do. Social media in general is getting a little bit put under the spotlight, but Facebook especially, they're wanting to make it a little more secure. And so while we're not the intended recipient of those increased security measures, we are having to deal with that as an organization platform on Facebook. And then Instagram is awesome. You can show photos on there. You can put up photos from your events, from meetings with elected officials, from local events, democracies, brewing tours. We post all those things, and it gets a pretty good amount of engagement. We like the aesthetic of Instagram a lot because one, that's where a lot of people are gravitating these days, so it hopefully gets a wider audience as well. But two, it just looks good if you post high quality photos there, and then people will hopefully again be interested in what actions you're taking. The cons of Instagram, it is really hard to get people to link through to our website from there. There are thresholds that accounts have to reach if you are able to put in links, and American Promise has not reached those thresholds yet. So most people, you can't have a link outside of your bio, which is where we have a link. And we do get click-throughs from there when we post things, but it's not as often as Facebook or Twitter, with obviously Facebook being the primary driver of traffic on there. And again, if you are on social media, please, when you're posting about the amendment and money in politics, use the hashtag 28th Amendment and hashtag Get Money Out. Those are the two that we use on pretty much every post, just to keep our posts categorized and make sure people know that the amendment is really what American Promise is focused on, not just general democracy reform, but the amendment specifically to lay that groundwork for further democracy reform in the future. And so with that, I'll move on to the last slide, the 12th slide, but this is really just to remind people that American Promise and also me at BARC, we're here to help. We all coordinate together. And so if you reach out to Rosie and Kimberly and they need my help with setting anything up, they can reach out to me. But we're here to answer your questions. We're here to support you. We want to make the movement a very well-run, well-oiled machine. So that is our goal. But with that, I guess I will open it up to questions, and I want to thank you all for listening to me for the time I talked. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ryan. That was a gorgeous presentation. I thought it was really, really helpful. I've been on Facebook since I was 13, and I still found it helpful. So thank you for that. If anyone had any questions, I know we threw a lot of information at y'all at once, but if anyone has any questions, go ahead and press 1 on your keypad, and I'll unmute you. Oh, okay, I see Jerry has a question. So go ahead, Jerry. Tell us where you're calling from.
Hi, this is Jerry. I'm calling from Olathe, Kansas. And hi, Ryan. We've talked before.
Yes, we have. We've connected before at NCLC, which was a great time. So if you haven't been to the National Citizen Leadership Conference, I'm going to take Jerry's cue to plug that really quick. This is going to be a great event. I really enjoyed it last year, and I got to meet people like Jerry. So how are you doing, Jerry?
We're doing good. We're doing good. I had a quick question because we're one of those APAs that already has our own Facebook page.
Yeah.
And I'm all in favor of coming under the umbrella with the groups.
Yeah.
But I don't understand how will I transfer all of our followers of our current page to a new group.
Yes. So that is an unfortunate side effect. But what I would say is that when you move it over to a group, make the last post on your page a message that says we've transitioned over to be a group page, and I believe there's a way to link to that group page. So you should be able to set that as the last message and keep the page archived, so anyone who comes onto that page can just click through there. Additionally, for all the people who already follow it, just make sure you make a post saying, hey, everyone, we're going to make an organizational change. We're going to become a group page, and so please join our group page here, and again, link to it that way. Rosie, Kimberly, and I can all figure that out and help you set that up if when you get onto the Facebook page, it's being weird about linking over or anything like that. But yes, that is something that we talked about as well, because while it is unfortunate that we can't transfer all the followers over, it is better to have it as a group page under the national organization because it keeps our message a little more centralized.
Yeah, I'm all for that, and I'll work with. We typically work with Kimberly, and so Lisa and I will be in contact with Kimberly, and we'll get that started. Thanks.
Well, fantastic, Jerry. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, great question, Jerry. Does anyone else have any questions regarding Facebook, maybe even other social media questions, other tech questions, or what Richard talked about earlier with leadership skills? So it's a lot of topics to talk about. I think everyone's one key is broken. So feel free to press any key if you have any questions.
I must have covered
Rosie,
everything.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Rosie? Oh, I can. Hi. Hey, this is Jessica. Hi, Ryan. Thank you for doing a great job. I've been listening in.
Well, great.
I just wanted to add what Ryan said about contacting elected officials, which, as you mentioned, we'll go into that in a deeper fashion in a later call. But one thing that occurred to me as you were talking about that, Ryan, was I know a lot of the APAs are out there doing really great work getting local resolutions passed and also getting their elected officials to sign on to the candidate pledge or other statements supporting getting money out of politics. So in addition to sort of pushing people who haven't necessarily jumped on or whatever, it's also a really great way to thank your elected officials. And so if your group has had a success with a local resolution, definitely jump onto your social media platforms and say, if you can have 10 people say thank you to an elected official and tag them for an action that they've taken, that really speaks volumes to them. We work directly with a few elected officials, and a lot of the things they say is that it really gets their attention when a bunch of people are saying the same message to them. So a bunch of people saying, hey, thank you, we really appreciate you representing our interests over the interests of wealthy special interests. I think that's another really great way to use social media to engage with your elected officials.
Thank you, Jessica. Yes, that is a good point.
We talk about a lot in our trainings that while we might not agree with all of the representatives on everything, it's really, really important to thank them for something that you agree with them on, or even working hard, because yes, some of them do work hard, and that they're just more willing to be on your side and support your cause if you just show up with kindness. And that, as MLK said, you cannot drive out darkness with darkness. It has to be light, to paraphrase it that. So thank you for that, Jessica. Does anyone have any other questions for Jessica and Ryan? They're experts in this cause space. It's a really, really good opportunity to ask any questions regarding social media, marketing, all that fun stuff. Feel free to go ahead and press 1 on your keypad. Maybe to get things rolling, like maybe give people some time to brainstorm. I might have a question that I was talking to my parents about this training, and they asked a question that I thought might be good to ask for our members, and that they were like, isn't social media just like a young person thing? Like, what can older generations do to kind of like feel relevant or stay on top of what's going on if they're not as tech savvy as, let's say, like millennials?
I would say I'll answer first. If Jessica, if you want to provide any follow-up, let me know. I would say even though generally younger people are going to be more frequent on social media, that social media is more about keeping up to date with the here and now and what's going on at the moment. And right now, especially for American Promise's sake, it is pretty much a crossroads for the issue of money and politics. On the national platform, the national level, we have many presidential candidates talking about the issue, both of corruption and of money in politics in general. And I feel like at the local level as well, it's starting to resonate and starting to become much more of an issue that's in the primary focus. So I would say not to think of it so much as a generational thing as much as it is a tool for connecting people with similar interests and also for keeping people up to date on the current situation that we are in.
First, yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you.
I don't know if that's something to add, but
no, I mean, I agree with you, and I think if anyone looks into demographics on social media, they will see that a lot of people, especially on Facebook, trend older, but honestly, as you said, Ryan, it's a great way for everyone to share messages that are important to them with their friends and family. And so for older people, everyone of every age, to do that is a really meaningful way for us to communicate, to use social media in a way that enables us to communicate what is actually important to us instead of just commercials and stuff like that. Like, use these platforms to share the things that you care about and to share the things that are important and that are happening in your community so that other people have the opportunity to get involved.
I love that. Yeah, I like it. I think a lot of people are, not with American Promise, but in other organizations or just people without an organization, feel like they are missing that sense of community. And that's a way that social media is just an online community. So thank you. I see both Richard and Joan have their hands up. I'm going to go ahead and unmute Richard, and then I'll get to your question right after Joan. So go ahead, Richard.
Yes, thanks for sharing your expertise, Ryan and Jessica. One of the concerns is being an organizer of live events, personal relationship building, and maybe being older as well. I tend to just not have much capacity or time for social media, and I fill a lot of my organizing and action creating work around personal relationships, which means one-on-ones, organizing group work groups, or action groups, and phone calls and emails and all. So how do you balance as organizers and wanting to create a movement? How do we balance social media with the more direct person-to-person and group work?
I would say, thank you for the question, Richard. One thing we talked about when putting this together is obviously not everyone is going to be heavily active on social media, and we're not asking people who have no desire in getting involved with a Facebook page. We aren't asking anyone to do that. If you don't want to get on Facebook, that is your prerogative. You don't have to. But social media is a good way to expand our message. And so the way we think that balance works best is if you have someone in your APA who is interested in pushing forth the social media message, have them basically run the APA page and have them post all the messages. That way, there's someone consistently updating it, because if the social media page doesn't get used, it's not obviously as helpful. And it's someone who wants to be updating it, who has that time on their hands. We want people to leverage their unique skill sets. And if someone in APA is really adamant, like they want to be the Facebook guy or gal, and they have done it before, or they are willing to learn, then that's sort of the balance I see. Not forcing anyone who is not interested or doesn't have the time, but finding those people within the group who are willing to pitch in and who want to help in that way.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I hope that helped answer it. But obviously you can ask follow-up questions if I didn't address everything.
Yeah, that's super helpful. Thanks, Brian.
I was just going to add, I 100% agree. And also, this is, maybe beyond kind of the scope of what we're talking about here, but as marketers, a lot of what we talk about is a funnel of bringing more and more people into a cause. And that face-to-face communication that you're doing is extremely valuable. So what the person doing social media contributes is enabling you to have those face-to-face conversations with more people. So you should sort of think of those things as linked, where if you can spread your event in your community and get 5 more people to come to the event, that gives you 5 more opportunities to have those in-depth conversations. So don't look at it as one or the other. Look at it as tools that are working together to enable all of us as a community to spread our message in the way that's most meaningful to us.
Yes.
Well, I love that. Thank you so much. I saw Joan, did you have your hand up? Go ahead, Joan, unless you didn't have a question and maybe I misread. That's fine. I see Anne has her question, so go ahead. Anne, you're off mute. Let us know where you're calling from.
Okay, hi, this is Ann from Dallas, Texas. I am one of those people that has a public page and a closed group, and I'm trying to decide whether or not to just delete the page or archive the page and make the group open. I notice it looks like probably more of the groups are public than are closed. Do you have a recommendation about that?
That is a very good question, Anne, and ironically enough, or coincidentally enough, I don't know which of those 2 words works best. We were talking about that earlier, and I think we'll have a decision for you all soon, but I would imagine we're going to say public. That's where we left it off in the email chain where I saw, because while people can join a public group without prior approval, they can also be banned from the group by an admin. So if some random person joined and was just posting random things, then you could easily remove them from the group. Additionally, I think that a public group helps because it allows people who aren't already in the APA to see what actions you're taking and to be interested in getting further involved.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. I see that Jim has his hand up, so go ahead. Jim, let us know where you're calling from and what's your question.
Yes, good evening. My name is Jim Stewart. I'm calling from the great metropolis of National Park, New Jersey. I'm a new member with Marie's Tri-County group. And I had a question. I had a question not about your presentation, which is very complete and informative. The question is more regarding the mission of the group.
Yeah.
I saw today, I believe there was a Supreme Court decision about a related subject that basically said that precedence was not going to be used so much in forming opinions in future cases with the Supreme Court. Now, I know that has a very detrimental effect on, for instance, Planned Parenthood, but I'm wondering what kind of effect that might have on getting a 28th Amendment passed.
That's a fantastic question. I'm going to put a link into the follow-up email with our email to Johannes, our legal counsel, who can definitely talk about this in more depth than I can. But we're not necessarily going through the Supreme Court with this. The way we're hoping to pass this amendment is with 2/3, with a bill in the House, which will then go to the Senate, which is then ratified by the state legislators. So the Supreme Court isn't going to be involved in this. We're just trying to overturn what they've done back in 2010. So this court case really shouldn't have a big effect on our mission. We're just trying to do it through a bill in the House and Senate. I hope that answers your question, but I'm also going to direct you to Johannes, who can definitely sound smarter than I can regarding that. Thank you for your question, though. That's I'm definitely going to read more about that. It's definitely important to learn more about. Speaking of Marie and her group, Marie, you have a question, so go ahead and say where you're calling from and what's your question.
Hi, Rosie. Calling from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And actually, I have a comment on Anne's question about whether the Facebook group should be closed or public. We started out with a closed group because we wanted to use it as our working group for coordinating, showing up to meetings and actions and so on and so forth. But then as we got more busy, we decided, and we needed to post events and so on, we decided to change over to a public group to be able to post events that could be easily shared from our page to, from our group to other people's personal pages or other groups or so on and so forth. And we don't use our page for some of the things that Ryan had talked about in terms of like sort of coordinating our members to show up at places. We don't use it for that at all. We use it for, for the public facing PR kind of function.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that comment. I think everyone uses their page a little differently, and it's up to your group to decide like what works best for you. So I appreciate all different perspectives in that area. Thank you.
And I actually met Marie at NCLC as well. So again, another reason to attend. You'll meet a lot of the people you're talking to right now.
Exactly, for sure. And as a reminder, the NCLC will be October 19th to the 21st. I think we released that in an email. If not, more reminder emails will be coming out. It'll be in Washington, D.C. We're going to have lots of trainings and breakout sessions, and we'll have our lobby day on the 21st. And it'll be my first NCLC, so I'm ridiculously excited. We had a planning meeting today, and we're just coming up with some really, really cool stuff to share with y'all. So I hope you can come and bring your friends. We've got 3 minutes left in this call, and I want to make sure we use up all the time we can in a more productive way. So does anyone have any last-minute questions for Ryan, Jessica, myself, or Richard, who led the grassroots victory earlier on? Go ahead and press 1 on your keypad if you do. And a hush falls over the room. That's okay. I think I had just a great time talking with y'all. As a reminder, as you saw in our email, this month's action, we have 3 goals. We want each APA to have a Facebook group under the umbrella of the National American Promise Facebook page, which, as Brian mentioned, Kimberly and I can help you set up, no problem. We want each member who's on Facebook to join their APA's Facebook group. And then each member who's on Facebook, we'd like you to share 3 to 5 of our national posts each week. Just by sharing our posts rather than making your own, it's kind of easier for you, one, and it focuses all of our combined efforts on this central message. And also it'll just really heighten our message of this cross-partisan and national grassroots movement. So we're all really, really excited to see how this is going to go. We're going to have more social media trainings in the future because we see that this is a good way to build our list and build our grassroots energy. But if anyone has any other suggestions for what things you'd like to learn, feel free to either send me an email or we'll talk about it in next month's leader call as well. And good night, y'all. Have a wonderful Monday. Thank you.
All right.